welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope your guys' weekend has been going well. This is going to be the astro weather for the week of February 18th through the 25th, 2024. We're going to be taking a look at the various transits throughout this next week with a special focus on looking at Mercury entering Pisces. If you guys like my content and will see more of it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to drop me a comment below and let me know where you're tuning in from. So get ready, guys, because the strange energies are already kind of afoot. Seeing Mercury's ingress into Pisces, I think, is going to have all of us kind of busting out our tarot cards, our pendulums, our crystal balls, trying to get some insight. When Mercury moves into the intuitive sign of Pisces, it's going to have all of us tapping into our inner wisdom. I don't know about you guys, but it's time to kind of figure out what's going on behind the scenes. Raise your hand if you've been having some strange dreams this week. I know I have. And if you haven't already had them, then get ready for some illuminating symbolism coming through your dreams as Mercury goes into this mutable water sign. So Pisces is the 12th sign of the zodiac. Having Mercury transit Pisces is bringing a shift in how we communicate, how we think, and also process information, because Mercury is the planet of communication. So Mercury rules over things like intellect, our thought processes, and because Pisces is a water sign, it's associated with intuition, creativity, and sensitivity, things get a little weird, right? Now, this transit is known to enhance our imagination, our intuition, and our spiritual awareness, but it can also make us more prone to confusion, illusions, and misunderstandings. So to best utilize this transit, it's important to stay grounded throughout this next week or two. Try to be discerning in your communication and decision making. I really recommend keeping a journal to kind of capture your creative ideas and your insights, or maybe even jot down your dreams. Engage in activities that nourish your soul, such as meditation, yoga, or other artistic pursuits. And be mindful of a tendency towards escapism or delusion. Seek clarity and understanding in your interactions with other people. Now, when Mercury moves through the sign of Pisces, technically it's in its fall. So for Mercury to be considered in its fall, it's because it's in the opposite sign of which it's typically associated with, Virgo. Mercury has connections to Gemini as well. But Mercury's rulership being associated with Virgo is why we consider Mercury in Pisces to be in its fall. So when it's associated with communication, right? Mercury is the god of communication and intellect and rational thinking. When we put it in its opposite sign, it has a difficult time expressing itself. Typically, it thrives in Virgo because it's very detail-oriented and analytical, very practical, organized, because Virgo is an earth sign. So it needs that structure and organization to process information. On the other hand, Mercury moving through the sign of Pisces is known for its emotional depth, intuition, and sensitivity. So it operates on a much more abstract and intuitive level, which can be challenging for Mercury, right? So when we have Mercury challenges, communication, contracts, travel, booking things, reading the fine print, obviously becomes a little bit more difficult because we're lacking that sense of clarity and logic with this transit. So watch out for feeling like clouded by your emotions or your imagination. There can definitely be a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunication and a difficult time expressing our thoughts because we are so busy being in our feels. We're like, I don't know how to express myself. But despite being in its fall, I do think that the benefits is tapping, into our inner wisdom, reflecting, meditating, being creative, and doing a lot more when it comes to our spiritual work. And it's encouraging us to connect with our inner selves and explore deeper truths. And it may not be the most comfortable placement, but it's definitely a time for some awesome opportunities for introspection. So yeah, let me know. Like, Mercury hasn't even gone into Pisces yet, and I'm having all week I've been having really weird dreams. So I'm kind of like, oh boy, how are you guys feeling with this potential transit? All right, so we're going to take a look first at today, Sunday the 18th. So those of you guys who are watching as a part of my Sunday crew, happy Sunday. When we wake up in the morning, the moon is in Gemini. I like to say that like 3 times whenever the moon's in Gemini because we're all feeling super chatty. And we've got some really interesting energies today. Actually, right off the bat, the moon in Gemini is forming trines to both Mercury, and throughout the day, it's going to trine the sun. Love it. Look at this massive Aquarius stellium in the skies. The last week or so, we've been dealing with some major conjunctions to Pluto, Mars, and then Venus. And this is that part of the week where I told you guys that we are seeing Venus, which is kind of sandwiched in between 2 malefics, Mars, the god of war, and Pluto, the god of death and regeneration. So how are my Taurus and Libra risings doing, right? You feel the pressure of some kind of significant change that you're going through. Watch for this until Venus actually leaves that conjunction to Mars. She'll eventually pull ahead this week. Relationships get a little bit easier. But today, as we're looking at the moon in Gemini, we're looking at Mercury. Mercury is crossing the degree that we had of the new moon in Aquarius, if you guys remember that. So we're still kind of doing our work revolving around our new moon intentions. Air trines are like get up and go. Like this is a great day to go out, go for a walk, explore the neighborhood, catch up with a friend, you know, have your weekly phone calls and get out and socialize because there's just so many air trines that's keeping us moving all day long. As we start to see, we get into the evening hours, the moon is going to catch a square to Neptune. Okay, so that's going to be kind of in like the late afternoon, right around 26 degrees. That's definitely a little bit emotionally cloudy, but even in spite of that, the sun and the moon are still kind of coming into a trine. I'm also digging sextiles all day to the North Node in Chiron, so you know it's helping us kind of be more independent, get things done. But yeah, right around mid-afternoon, moon square Neptune does make it a little bit emotionally cloudy, difficult to relate. We do feel like something is like beginning to kind of shift or change. Maybe we're feeling like we got to get back home if we're out all day by later on Sunday. And we will see the moon's ingress later in the evening into Cancer, right around the same time that we're going to see the sun go into Pisces. So Sunday is the last day of Aquarius season. Then we're going to see that moon shift drop into Cancer where it is quiet, it's reflective, it's wanting to be home, it's wanting to be, you know, comfy. And that trine to the sun kind of makes me feel like Sunday evening is just perfect for preparing for the week ahead. Getting things in order, especially emotionally, and kind of feeling like we have time to rest and recuperate. Nice trine right off the bat with that lunar ingress. Okay, so sun's in Pisces. We're in Pisces season. So for the next several weeks, we're going to see the sun transit the sign. It's going to meet up eventually with Saturn as well as Neptune. And we're actually kind of feeling like the year winding down. So the countdown is on, guys. We are, I think, officially kind of entering into eclipse territory. End of March, we're going to be having that lunar eclipse in Libra. So if you're somebody who's a little bit more astrologically sensitive, we're feeling those changes coming. All right, so this is now taking us into Monday the 19th. And we wake up in the morning, the moon is still in Cancer, and it's making some rather lovely aspects off the bat, building into a trine with Saturn where we are emotionally, I think, focused. We are dedicated to our dreams. We're aware of having timelines and boundaries and like the necessary kind of commitments in order. Wonderful trine right off the bat on Monday morning, even though I think a lot of us would probably rather be in bed with the sun in Pisces trine the moon, getting a little extra sleep. When we have these water trines, the energies are very different than what we've had with all of this Aquarius. It is much more sensitive, much more empathic, much more emotional. There can be a tendency also of us being a little bit more reflective this week. As the sun's getting close to Saturn, we're realizing that there is some new commitment we have to make. We are dedicating ourselves to something, and it may feel like a bit of a sacrifice. And so I'm kind of feeling like with the moon's ingress into Cancer, making this trine, that's kind of starting to come up for us on Monday morning. And as the moon continues throughout the day, It's then going to start making a sextile to Jupiter, which is nice because Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces. So we're feeling maybe emotionally a little bit more secure with some of the changes that we've been making, with some of the financial shifts that we've been making, with some of the focus on our self-esteem, our resources. So yeah, all of Monday morning is actually really great. It's quiet, but it's still, it's a very productive day with those trines to Saturn and the sun. Once the moon gets out of this sextile with Jupiter, it's going to keep on keeping on. You're not going to see too much, but it does look like it's going to catch a square to the nodes early on Tuesday morning. So we go to the 20th, and early in the morning, the moon is squaring its own node. So if you're an early bird, you're up early in the morning on February the 20th, significant things can be taking place, specifically emotionally, at home, things that are coming up from the past, things relating to where you live. And that moon hitting a square to the north and south node, its own nodes, but it'll be at a 16, is also a Cancer degree. So there can be a sense of us feeling like we're needing to heal wounds from the past, needing to uncover something, dig a little deep to figure out what needs to be healed or what needs to be kind of dealt with. And when the moon squares the nodes, karmic things happen. So there can be some stuff kind of going on in the world, you know, overnight, and we're waking up on the 20th and we're like, oh, there's this change that's going on at home or in our homeland or with family. Now, the moon will pick up a sextile to Uranus, so we are adapting to shifts and changes to resources, home, and values. I do feel like the sextile to Uranus does help us kind of shift and adjust and make changes, so that's not a bad thing. And the moon is going to start coming out of the square with the north and south node, you know, first thing in the morning. So a lot of you guys won't even really pick that up. All right, so that's pretty much the only big transit that we're going to see. Later in the day on Tuesday, the moon is going to pick up a trine to Neptune, and that's kind of how it's going to finish off its transit through the sign of Cancer. So when it starts in Monday, you know, the sun trine the moon with Saturn is more like quiet and reflective, and maybe we're having to meditate more, listening to our dreams more, doing more work about like spiritual housekeeping. And then as we get to, you know, Tuesday, then we are kind of releasing something and kind of letting it all go. So we might be kind of feeling like we're moving through invisible blocks. So many things for me with Saturn and Pisces has been like things that were coming up that were blocking that I wasn't even aware that was there, or things that I didn't catch and now I've been catching them through the Saturn transit. So maybe you guys are feeling like that actually the next couple days, Monday, Tuesday, and then as we're getting into Wednesday, we're kind of blowing through some of those blocks and we're dissipating them with a trine to Neptune. Then we're going to get to Wednesday the 21st, and when we wake up in the morning, the moon will be ingressing into Leo. So you'll feel it hit that critical 29 degrees, probably first thing in the morning when you're waking up. Then the moon goes into Leo. So then we're going to be paying attention to what's going on with the sun. Okay, so we've got some stuff going on Wednesday. This is definitely a day that you want to watch. This is the 21st. So first of all, the sun is still in Pisces, but it's sandwiched between Mercury and Saturn. So Mercury is now behind the sun. You're going to see Mercury pull ahead of the sun just after the full moon in Virgo. We'll see a triple conjunction between Sun, Saturn, and Mercury. So I see this as something's getting ready to be revealed. Some kind of information is getting ready to come out. I also see this as, you know, the sun is kind of stuck between, well, do I talk about it? Do I share it? You know, do I bring this information out? And then Saturn is saying, no, we're going to kind of keep it, you know, like under wraps. We're not going to discuss it yet, or now is not the time. So we can be feeling that we're stressed with timelines. We can be feeling that there's something critical that's coming up for us in terms of a conversation we need to have or a letter that we need to send. And we can be feeling the impact of that big time with the moon's ingress into Leo. And off the bat, the moon is met with an opposition to Pluto. So, you know, Wednesday morning feels a little critical to me. I do think that the moon in opposition to Pluto is this awareness that something is changing. when the when the moon is in Leo, we are focusing on creativity, joy, right? Hanging out with our kids, being with romantic partners, being creative, dancing, sharing. But we're almost feeling like whatever we're trying to create or whatever we're trying to show is being shut down, or it's being judged, or it's being threatened, because, basically Leo represents your creativity, your self-love, your joy, and what you want to share. And Pluto is like, yeah, no, we can't show that, or we're not interested, or, like we're not available. So you may have a hard time actually feeling like you can get an audience's attention. So especially if you're somebody who works in marketing, or if you're trying to have some kind of a drop of some creative project, or you're starting to, put out like an ad campaign, like this is not the morning to do it, because you're going to have a difficult time attracting the audience that you want. So be mindful of that. And I think a lot of that really goes back to not even just the moon opposed Pluto. I think it's because the sun is sandwiched between Mercury and Saturn. So it feels like a timing thing. Now, as the day goes on, we will see Venus start coming into a conjunction with Mars. So Mars and Venus have been moving side by side. They've been getting really close since they conjuncted with Pluto. I work with about a 3 or 4 degree orb. So by this point in time, midweek, Mars and Venus are moving away from Pluto. That intense kind of spicy conjunction is easing up. However, the exact conjunction between Mars and Venus is going to be aligning on the 21st. So 6 degrees of Aquarius, 6 has associations with health, with jobs. It deals with also our workspace, our coworkers, things revolving around our habits and our routines. So this conjunction seems to kind of indicate there's going to be a fusion both of that energy as well as Aquarius. I feel like we're going to be hearing a lot about tech layoffs. I'm waiting to see, like Amazon stuff, things revolving also around other, tech companies, Google. I think that's how this is going to manifest, to be honest with you guys. The positive is that we've got the North Node ruler, Mars, which is helping us take action, and the South Node ruler, Libra, Venus, which is allowing us to kind of release something, is coming together. So there's so much power this week in group dynamics, working as a team, right? If you're feeling like you're having a difficult time, at work, and you're trying to kind of get on well with other coworkers, and everybody's just kind of like working at different angles and nobody's really, on the same page, sit down, have a team meeting, right? Practice team building exercises. There is a way to be able to actually push through some of the group dynamic challenges this week if we are able to kind of get on the same page. And sometimes also it's going to be about sitting down and being able to give constructive criticism. Certainly 6s are known for that. And kind of being able to point out like, okay, this is where you're doing really good. This is where we need some work. How can we, help each other? Help me help you. And so, with 6 degrees coming up, we would read 7 degrees of the Sabian symbol. And the Sabian symbol for 7 degrees of Aquarius is a child born out of an eggshell. The symbol associated with idea of new beginnings, unusual origins, and the emergence of something unique or unexpected. So the image of a child born out of an eggshell suggests that there's like a miraculous or unconventional birth. It can symbolize a birth of a new idea, a new project, a new phase, and that it is full of potential and possibilities. So the eggshell represents a protective barrier that has been broken through, indicating that we're having a breakthrough and we're actually releasing from some set of limitations. I think in a broader sense, it can encourage us to embrace the idea of newness and innovation. It invites us to approach life with a sense of wonder and openness and ready to explore new paths and embrace new possibilities. And I think it suggests that the most remarkable and transformative things in life often come from the most unexpected situations. It's in a Uranian sign, okay? So something that you guys may have seen me talk about when I did my Mars-Venus video is that Mars and Venus meet with Pluto. They undergo that kind of pressure cooker of change. They square off with Jupiter, where they feel like they have to expand, and then they square off with Uranus, where we are now adjusting to these shifts. Quite literally, it can be about new technologies that are emerging, more information on AI, new optimization stuff on the internet. We're going to be seeing new updates with frequencies in regards to towers and like other things. I myself, it's like crazy. I don't know, maybe if it's just me in my area, but in the last week, I've had like 5 different outages. And they've been like, yeah, between this hour and this hour, you know, we're going to be like working on something. And it's like every day I'm getting an update that they're like updating the towers around me. And I'm like, okay, you know, Mars, Pluto, Venus. And so could it be for, you know, increased speeds? Certainly it could be. A Mars Jupiter can be about that. So we can see that it's like trying to kind of help us all connect faster. But we want to be careful when we're starting to come into those squares with Uranus, because it can be too much too soon. But for today, I would say with that conjunction, know that we've got the past and the future working together, saying, hey, we need to let something new emerge. And it may be sudden, it may be unexpected, but it may also be the best thing that ever happened to you. So roll with some of those punches, work as a team, try to collaborate with other people the best that you can. And know that once we come out of this particular conjunction, then Mars and Venus are going to separate. So we only have a couple working days. It'll be between like 6 degrees and about 8 or 9 degrees. And then Venus is going to start to separate. Okay. All right. So we see then right after that, the moon is coming into an opposition with Mars and Venus. And so this is interesting, you know, where the moon in opposition to Pluto was earlier in the day, like, ooh, I don't know if I want to share. Then the moon comes into an opposition with Mars and Venus. And then I think it realizes like, actually, I have something that I can contribute to this project. I have an idea. Let me put my little kind of twist on something. And it allows you to be able to contribute to, you know, what kind of group endeavors you're working on. It can give you literally a platform to share. It can make other people seem more interested or want more of what you have, because that opposition from Venus and the moon kind of leaves you longing for wanting more. And then the moon in opposition to Mars can also indicate that, you know, you're being encouraged by other people or you're being pushed by other people. So this is all kind of coming through on Wednesday night. So watch for some of these dynamics. Very, very big, because it's also kind of starting to come into a square with Jupiter. So it's making Jupiter the focal point of what is this T-square in fixed signs, and Jupiter will magnify the fact that it's like, look at this, you know, project this person's doing, and look at this team that they're with. It might materialize as some drama out there in gossip land. That's very possible. All right, so then this is Wednesday night. We're going into Thursday, and that's going to be the 22nd. And when we wake up on Thursday in the morning, the moon is still in Leo, and it's going to catch that square to Jupiter in the morning. So that's where we're kind of feeling things heightened. Mars and Venus are now at a 7, so they're moving side by side. At least this isn't a relationship degree now, so it can be an indication that relationships are growing, they're bettering in some way. And we will also see the moon come into a trine with the North Node in Chiron. So this is great for like art therapy, inner child work, you know, focusing on your own actions and self-expression, creativity, personal projects. This is going to be into the afternoon. Fire trines really get things going, man. It does kind of help break up all of this energy that's starting to come into Pisces, where we're feeling slow and sluggish. So I like this day once we are coming out of the square with Jupiter, and there's some nice kind of creative working periods that we're going to see midday on the 22nd. And then later in the day, it's going to catch a square to Uranus. So that's going to be right around the PM hours. And it's at a 19. So there can be a little bit of like emotional stuff going on with relationships, some relationship disruption. There can be a sense of there being some drama over, you know, fluctuations and changes with money and resources within relationships. I would say that anyway, because Mars and Venus are still very close to Pluto and they're squaring Jupiter. Yeah, you're going to definitely feel this a little bit in the late evening hours. The moon trine the North Node is also saying like the drama that's coming up, or the creativity that's coming up, or the themes with lovers or younger people or children is supposed to be something that's making us aware of like what we need to be healing or working through as well. All right. So at this point in time also, I should say, Venus is now ahead of Mars. So from the 22nd on, Venus is pulling out of that conjunction between Mars and Pluto where things have felt very tense. So if you're like, when do things kind of start to calm down a little bit? Right around that time, that's when we're going to see some relationship easement. Granted, Venus still has to square Jupiter and Uranus. All right, so this is now going to take us into the 23rd. So this is Friday. And we're going to wake up on Friday morning and the moon is still in Leo. Not much is changing there. The moon's not making too many aspects. We are going to see an ingress into Virgo later in the day as we're coming into the full moon. Now on Friday, we have got Mercury that enters into Pisces. Okay, so now we've got a Pisces stellium. We've got a stellium of planets in Aquarius. So look at all of these planets going from Aquarius to Pisces to Aries to Taurus. I mean, it's like there is so much focus on like one half of your chart right now, if you take a look. And so there is like this building motion. To me, this almost looks like a train where all of these changes and transformations in Aquarius is leading the way and making us realize some things need to end in Pisces. So there can be new beginnings in Aries, and then we're going to be adjusting in Taurus, and there's new physical, financial, and also self-esteem related things that are going to be emerging. So pretty powerful energy having all of this on one side of the chart. All right, so Mercury's in Pisces, right? Well, it's been in Aquarius, it's been social, it's been all about tech and gadgets and quick connections and information and socializing. As soon as Mercury goes into Pisces, it's like literally trying to have a phone call underwater. Things can feel distorted. Things can be misunderstood. It can be a hard time, like I said, finding the words for stuff. We're really having to kind of pause and reflect before we make any big moves. Important because we're going to be seeing the moon shift into Virgo. So when the moon shifts into Virgo later in the day, and we're coming into the Virgo full moon, Mercury is what we're looking at. Okay, so off the bat, we're dealing with Mercury in opposition to the moon, which means when it comes to talking about our feelings and making sense of things and organizing things and getting clear about our emotional well-being and how we feel, we don't know. We don't know what's missing. We don't know what we need. It can feel hard to make sense of things. It can feel hard to also figure out, what is missing or what the problem is or what's going to make us feel better. Because Virgo is all about health and service and perfecting things and making things the way that they need to be so we can really show up 100% for other people. The 6th and the 12th house axis represents, where we are completing our own things before we meet others and where we are kind of wrapping things up before we really kind of focus on ourselves. So there's some interesting kind of polarities going on where you have, some oppositions between the two signs. It quite literally means not a lot of things are going to make sense right now. There's some stuff stirring in the astral that's being worked out in dreams, that's being worked out, intuitively in meditation. There's going to be more synchronicities, I think, also with Mercury and Pisces. So if you're somebody who catches letters on a license plate, or if you look for signs and symbols in animal totems, or if you're, waiting for a dream as a sign for something, great, you're going to thrive in this environment. But it's very different than Virgo energy. And I think really what it's teaching us is that in order to be healthy, productive, organized, physically well, we need to be looking at not just the mind and body, we need to look at the spirit as well. So there can be some things that are coming up for us, emotionally or spiritually that has a huge impact on our physical health and our productivity. Pisces energy can make us lethargic. It can make us tired. It can make us hide out, oversleep, self-undo, definitely indulge a little bit in, drugs and alcohol. And I really feel like these conjunctions that are building with Saturn is a very sobering experience. It can be that you are making that commitment and that connection to do something productive with your alone time. So rather than oversleeping or Netflix binging or having a bunch of wine, it's I'm consciously taking this time to sit down and meditate for 15, 20 minutes a day. I'm choosing to be alone, to reflect on things, to vision board, to work on my creative projects, to, work in an altar space and, connect with my guides, to go to church, to go to temple, right? To travel, whatever your worshiping is, this is when you're really committing to that, because you know that this is a necessary step in being able to make your dreams a reality. Literally, Saturn in Pisces is that. So it's saying, are you going to stay in bed, or are you going to get out, and are you going to make things happen? So with this full moon, we can't just look at the practical, right? Virgo wants us to look at the practical. It's the, make your bed, put the dishes away, get things in order, comb your hair, get your life together. And that's not really how things work when everything goes through Pisces. So you have to really look at not just the house where the full moon is. You have to also look at what's going on with Pisces, so the opposite side, which we should anyway during a full moon. Anyway, that full moon is going to be, taking place on the 24th, early in the morning. It'll be at 5 degrees of Virgo. And like I said, the ruler is in its fall. And with Mercury in opposition to the moon, we're finding it difficult to be on time, to communicate, how we're feeling, to also make sense of health-related matters. Where the 6th house talks about health, organization, and routine, Pisces is therapy offices, healing centers, temples, psychiatric wards, hospitals. So it's interesting that we're seeing a full moon that's highlighting the service industry and health. And also I see Virgo as things like nurses and, people who are in healing professions. And then you have all these planets in the 12th house. So we're going to be talking, I think, collectively a lot about how health isn't just limited to, here's a medication, it'll all go away. What if we're realizing a lot and talking a lot with this full moon about how, yes, we can treat the symptoms, but are we treating the problem? And also, is it worth the effects emotionally, psychologically, taking some of these medications, taking some of these treatments? What are we missing? Is it worth the effect that it's having on us energetically? That kind of stuff. And I say that because Mercury is in a sign that deals with these topics, mental, emotional, psychological stuff, very Mercury in Pisces. And that Sun-Saturn conjunction talks about where we're feeling isolated, lonely, we're dealing with depression. And also we're going to hear a lot more about services revolving around people who are in need, people who are homeless, or people who are in need of, food, shelter, support, and creating these systems. And so we're going to be hearing about how, things are popping up, but it's going to come at what? A sacrifice, because we see Mercury coming into conjunction with Saturn and the Sun. So we can hear some unhappy things that can come up with this as well, like what we're sacrificing in order to be able to provide these services, what it's costing all of us. I think in general, seeing just a health epidemic in general around the world. What's this costing governments? Saturn is governments. And ultimately, if we are actually really getting to the root of the problem, it can be real easy with Mercury and the Saturn and the Sun to come into conjunction this week to just be like, screw it, what's the point? Nothing's going to work. Mercury Saturn can be really, really, really rigid in its mind, negative, pessimistic. And then when you've got, Mercury in its fall, it can almost seem like it's just too complex to express your feelings, that it's easier to just shut down and shut people out. When the key here, when we have a Virgo full moon, is to reach out and say, hey, I have a problem. I need some help. So if you're somebody who's struggling mentally or emotionally, if you are somebody who needs to talk to somebody, call a hotline, call a friend, go to a local church, go to a local shelter, ask for assistance, right? And it can be difficult asking for help, but help can very much be on the way. Pisces 12th house energy can also be very much, I think, about guardian angels and support that we're getting from our higher beings. And so in the background, we're starting to see these planets that are coming into a sextile with Jupiter, which means like you don't know what help you can get until you ask, right? And so for some people, it's about being like, you know what, I'm going to the food bank. I need help. Or some people saying, I'm going to, reach out to my family and say, I really need some assistance. I'm struggling. Can I talk to you about something that I've got going on? And grounding out our energies, because we can feel very discombobulated with all these planets in Pisces. We're not spending a lot of time in our body. So what we want to work with are the sextiles to Jupiter and Taurus, which means we are taking a walk in the grass. We're working with grounding energies. We're doing some gardening, some cooking. Maybe we are working with crystals. Maybe we're working with herbs or aromatherapy. Things that are going to help us find that grounding when we are kind of feeling like, we're lost in Pisces land. So you'll see this the 23rd going into the 24th, but yeah, some of these Mercury aspects, one of the first aspects that the moon is going to make will be in opposition to Mercury, which is kind of like, I don't know, I'm not ready to communicate yet, I'm not sure, or I forgot our meeting, or I didn't put it on my schedule, or I missed the email. It's going to be communication issues. And then as the full moon goes on, right after the full moon, the moon's going to catch an opposition to Saturn at a 9. Okay, so you will see pretty much all morning into the afternoon on the 24th that there is obviously something that is being kept at a distance for a reason, or there is some kind of delay for a reason, or we're feeling kind of restrictions of some kind. The positive is that we will see, the moon will come into a trine with Jupiter, so it's helping us, give us that space, I think, to ground and kind of get back to center. And then the moon's going to keep on moving in through the sign of Virgo. Looks like we're also going to catch a Venus square Jupiter on the 24th as well. Are we overdoing it? Over socializing, overspending, overeating, overworking. This is at a 10. So this is where we're having to really work hard, I think, to connect with other people, to work with other people, to come up with solutions, to come up with the time, the ability to socialize, to invest more in our relationships, investing more in our networks and our communities. 10s always represent that challenge because it's like a Saturn energy. But quite literally, we've got Venus, which rules love, relationships, and money, in a social sign, in a square with Jupiter. So I think that we're going to see lots of movements revolving around where people are learning, sharing, encouraging other people to be smarter with their investment, to be smarter with their financial strategy, to be more mindful of how they're spending their money, where they're spending their money. I've seen this a lot just because I think my Twitter has a ton of stuff on finances and also like Bitcoin. It's been really interesting the last week or so to see a lot of people who are like really hardcore all in. And some crazy stories that they're giving about some of their investment strategy. And so I could see that as the Venus square Jupiter as social movements and groups of people who are coming together and talking about what is necessary in order to have wealth. And obviously you're going to hear a lot of people that are going to say, hold it, right? There's this big movement saying, hold it, don't sell it. That's very Jupiter and Taurus. It's about the integrity revolving around the whole, I think, theme of Bitcoin, which is very anti-system. So it makes sense that you're going to hear a lot of people talking about not selling it, or not selling it, or even buying the ETFs. Reminds me of the Venus square Jupiter, just for their own kind of views on that whole currency. But this can be a day where overdoing it, overspending it, overindulging can definitely happen. And so it's interesting that that's happening on a full moon in Virgo, where Virgo wants us to do things in moderation. It wants us to be mindful of our health. It wants us to be mindful of what we're eating, drinking, consuming, how we're working. So definitely a little overindulging, a little overdoing it on Saturday night will get you into some trouble. So if you're drinking, partying, all that stuff, this can be one hell of a hangover over the weekend as the moon starts to come into an opposition with Neptune. Would not recommend. All right, so then this is going to take us to Sunday. And when we wake up on Sunday, the moon is still in Virgo. All right, here we go. And one of the aspects that the moon is going to make is it's going to trine Uranus. So we are adjusting, we are shifting, we are changing. When the moon's in Virgo, we want to clean, we want to organize, we want to get things done. And so what I like is with the moon trine Uranus, if you're like me, I prefer to do my cleaning on Sundays because that's just when I have the time. Get up in the morning and get some stuff done, right? Like open everything up, vacuum stuff, do your thing, get things organized. But in honor of that full moon in Virgo that's still brewing, just because you clean your house does not mean it's clean. Sage it, right? Maybe get like a boiling pot of like salt water and lemon and like some fresh herbs. If you want like aromatics in the kitchen space, that's great. Or if you literally want to put something together and wash your counters, wash your floors, because this is about the spiritual upkeep that we also have to do. All of the stickies and things that kind of end up in our house, from emotions, from people that come to visit, from literal weather. I've noticed recently with a lot of these Pisces, transits, and also when like the moon goes into mutable signs, we see a lot of weather kind of stirring up around the world, especially like where I live. And I've noticed that when the weather changes, when we see lots of wind and stuff that's coming in, I noticed there is a huge impact on my dreams. So I've been kind of tracking this with the mutable moon transitions, and I think that there's something to that. The storms are literally bringing things. And this can be a result of just what we're all kind of thinking about and dreaming about and feeling and what we're not expressing. So because the collective can be the moon, and the moon is the brightest when it's full, this moon in opposition to all these stormy placements indicates that what is subconscious is becoming, kind of thrown out into the ethers, and everybody's kind of getting slimed with it. So too long didn't listen. Open up your front door, open up your back door, open up your windows, clean your house, and then do something to energetically clear it as well. Whether you burn some incense or some sage, or you want to do a floor wash, this is the time that you want to do this. All right, so then the moon's going to keep moving through Virgo. And then later in the day, we are going to see that it is going to start coming into an opposition with Neptune. And that's when we can be like, okay, cool, we did everything we need to do. Now we can start to relax. Now at this point in time, I want to tell you guys, if you haven't seen my full moon in Virgo video, I really recommend looking at it because I do talk about how after this transit, we're going to see a triple conjunction between Mercury, Saturn, and the Sun. So there's something that's still kind of a part of the full moon that'll happen a couple days later that is going to be about a serious commitment, a serious message, a serious decision, a boundary, a mental boundary, a border, something that's kind of coming up for you. And I think it's going to come off of the backs of this full moon. So check that out. Know that Mercury and the Sun are going to be moving side by side. So I think that even clear into next week, we're going to see some pretty wild dreams. And on Sunday as well, you're going to start feeling the Mars square Jupiter building, but that's not going to perfect until next week. So we'll talk about that next week. And yeah, by the time you get to the end of Sunday, if you get everything that you need to get done, then this is more when the moon opposes Neptune, resting, recuperating, and also kind of feeling like, okay, I've done everything I need to do. Now it's time to, if you want to veg out, if you want to meditate, you want to spend time by water, be mindful of all of those energies in Pisces, because we need to balance the mind, the body, and the spirit this week, okay? I want to take you guys quickly through and show you the Mercury transit for all 12 signs, just as a reminder of this happening. So let me do that. And I believe I talk about this on my horoscopes as well. So if you guys haven't already seen my February horoscopes, definitely check them out. I talk about all of these major transits. And I think this next week or so, because February is a short month, I think we're going to be doing the horoscopes. So we're going to have Marches coming up pretty soon as well. Okay, so just as a reminder, I am a Western astrologer. So I practice Western astrology. I do not practice Vedic. I see people ask me that all the time. For the sake of my readings, I do whole sign. So I recommend listening to your rising sign horoscope, then listen to your sun and your moon sign. Yes, you can listen to Placidus if you want. You just want to look at where basically 0 degrees of Pisces is. But you can totally use the whole sign if there's a planet that's going to be ingressing. So just as a reminder, looks like we're going to have Mercury will be entering, looks like sometime around the 23rd. Okay, so we might do another video on that in the future. We'll see. But watch for that triple conjunction. That's the big one. Okay, and special mention, if you're ruled by Mercury, so if you are a Gemini or a Virgo rising, Mercury changing signs is pretty important for you, so you really want to pay attention to where it's going. Equally, my Pisces placement, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mercury going through your sign might be a little bit busier, more communicative for you than usual. All right, so let's start with Aries and Aries rising. What's up, Aries? So probably a lot of what I said resonates with you. You've got Mercury that's moving into your 12th house. Mercury has associations with your 6th house of health and your 3rd house of communication and siblings. So you've got Mercury in your 12th house. So this is about spirituality. This is about the ethers. This is also about endings. 12th house is about completions. So your intuition and spirituality may be heightened, making it a good time for introspection and also spiritual practices. But be cautious of escapist tendencies, oversleeping, not getting back to people, self-isolating. I mean, I think that you should be fine because Mars is in your 11th, so I think that you're being kept busy in some way, shape, or form. But still watch for that. Watch those dreams too, Aries. The card that I get for you is the Page of Pentacles, okay? So something that's being offered to you. It might mean that you receive some kind of download, you get some kind of insight about a financial situation. Maybe there is some focus on manifestation, especially, for finances, especially with Jupiter being in your 2nd. But this is about manifesting, being grounded, being ambitious, faithful, loyal, and focusing on positive financial news that's coming. I think that that's maybe the sextiles that's happening to your 2nd house, okay? Good luck, Taurus. Excuse me, Aries. Hello, Taurus. So we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. We are taking a look at Mercury's ingress into Pisces. It's moving into your natal 11th house. This is all about your friendships and your goals. So you may feel more connected to your friends and to your social groups, and it can be a good time to pursue your goals with the support of other people. So networking, joining new social media platforms, reaching out to friends, playing catch up with them, that kind of stuff. Mercury for you rules your 2nd house of personal resources, finances, and self-esteem. And it also has connections to your 5th house of creativity. So there can be great ways to, network, market yourself, especially if you have a creative business or your own business, hanging out with your friends. Also, if you have kids or if they have children, that could be tying into the 5th house ruler. And also really taking stock in which relationships you value. This is a time where you may realize who your true friends are, who's got your back when you're kind of making some moves out in the world, professionally or within your private life. And it really pays to have people that you can kind of rely on. So there might be a sense of really communicating and talking to some of these people a little bit more. All right, so let's see what cards you get. My Tauruses, I get the 4 of Cups. So I'm wondering if this is about the conjunctions that you're seeing to Saturn, because this can talking about being indifferent or feeling like you're having a misconnection or being disappointed that you're not hearing back or getting what you need from somebody. So like I said, it can mean that you kind of weed out some of your friendships this week and you realize who your true friends are. Not everybody is going to be there, and I would say that because of the Saturn conjunction, but the ones that are likely the ones that you want to keep. So don't lose sight of the people that you can rely on that come through for you this week, and lend you either a helping hand or an ear if you need one. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. Obviously, this is important for you, Gemini, because you're ruled by Mercury. So Mercury rules your 1st house, and it also rules your 4th house of home and family. It's meeting in the 10th house. So there is definitely some stuff going down in regards to your career and your public life. I think this is about you being more intuitive about your career path and your public image. I think it's a good time for you to reflect on your professional goals. Listen to your intuition. If you feel guided to say something, do something, pitch something, launch something, that likely is going to be the time to do it. especially as you are seeing this full moon come through in your 4th house. You're like, okay, I'm kind of taking care of business on the home front so that way I can be more kind of present for what I need to do out in the world professionally. A lot of showing up, a lot of eyes are on you, not just because Mercury is in your 10th house, but it's coming in conjunction with Saturn. So it looks like there's some new responsibilities coming through for you on the work front. And I think it's going to be really, really positive for you. Although there's just a lot of showing up, having to have meetings, talking to people, you know, deadlines, because all these planets are kind of meeting with Saturn squaring your ascendant. The card that I get for you is the 7 of Wands, which I love. This is like king of the hill. You know, you're like, nobody's knocking me off my top position. Standing your ground, having boundaries, defending yourself, and coming up against challenges, but protecting your territory. So I can see that as like Sun, Mercury, and also Saturn being like, this is mine, you know, or claiming a stake in a project, or, you know, taking the lead in a project, or going out for like a new position. So you'll know when to make some of those moves, I think, with Mercury and Pisces. Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You are going to be experiencing Mercury's transit through Pisces in your natal 9th house in a fellow sister water sign. So you should experience some trines here. I like the trines from the 9th to the ascendant. It does keep things active, traveling, learning, connecting with mentors, teachers, real big shifts revolving around your philosophy about life. All of these things are kind of coming full circle. Mercury rules your natal 12th and 3rd houses. So for Mercury to go into the 9th house, this is going to be about higher learning, you know, travel, education. And this is about letting your intuition guide you in matters of higher learning or travel. So it's a really good time to explore new ideas and new cultures. It might mean that you're, you know, considering taking a program, you know, visiting a place you've never been before, studying a new language, you know, thinking about getting like a certification or some kind of a degree. And that may be something that has some kind of connection to, you know, spiritual pursuits, or something that has to do with, you know, helping other people who might be in need, especially like within your community. And it looks like you might need like the help or the assistance of like a mentor or a teacher to kind of get there. So there can be some meetings that are happening. And also some big stuff. This full moon, you know, moons affect you, Cancer. This full moon in your 3rd house in opposition to Saturn and the Sun can talk about conversations you're having with siblings, with in-laws, with partners at a distance. That seems to be kind of the theme. And traveling stuff can come up here for you as well. Be interesting to see what happens with that Mercury-Saturn conjunction, because that can be about a really powerful conversation with a partner or somebody legally, or somebody even at a distance. The card that I get for you is the 9 of Swords. Stress. I can see this as, you know, maybe moving through like a crisis period, which allows you to kind of have a new belief system or a new philosophy. 9 of Swords is about anxiety, sleepless nights, overthinking, worrying about things, negativity, and feeling despair. So, you know, Sun conjunct Saturn can mean that there is some really significant things that are changing in regards to relationships. But it can also be a time where, if you're having stress, if you're having anxiety, like working with a counselor or a therapist can be really helpful, because Saturn rules that. And you've also got all these planets in your 8th house, which means you're ready to finally tackle some kind of fear. You're ready to break through some kind of barrier when it comes to financial situations, when it comes to romantic situations and intimacy and vulnerability. So this is a really good time to call somebody in who can kind of help be a guide as you move through some of these changes. And don't sweat the things that you cannot change. That's something that I always tell people when we see the 9 of Swords. Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You'll be doing Mercury's trek through the sign of Pisces in your natal 8th house. For you, Leo, Mercury is associated with your 11th house of friends and your 2nd house of resources. So this is a financial house, watching, you know, your 2nd house ruler go through your 8th house. This can be about transformation. This can be about tax preparation, tax documents, joint resources, insurance matters. And it's also about having a deeper understanding of your emotions and desires. And it can be a good time to, practice introspection and exploring your inner self, talking more about, growth within a relationship, intimacy growth, financial growth, really, really, really big stuff. Saturn's also the traditional ruler of Aquarius. So a lot of what is shifting seems to be about relationships and how you're focusing on growing together. And so sometimes in the 8th house, we have to talk about debt. We have to talk about insurance. We have to talk about, like all of the things that we kind of have a tendency to keep private. And so suddenly there's more focus on being able to talk about your goals when it comes to finances and how you can build more with another person. So a lot of opening up and being vulnerable and embracing change. That seems to be like a really big theme here. So let's see what these cards say for you, my Leos. Wow, some heavy cards, man. 10 of Swords. So this is like the death and endings card. This is feeling like you're being left to bleed out, crisis, deep wounds, exhaustion, betrayal, failure. I feel like this, with Mercury coming involved, it can be some disappointments about how a joint financial situation is going on. It can be this feeling that you're like, okay, well, it's all give and no take, especially because Mercury represents your resources. So you can feel like you're being really drained or kind of tapped because of a joint financial situation. And the conjunction between Saturn is like about you kind of showing up and being like, I need more, or, I need more support, or I need more clarity. It can also be working through grief and endings. If you're experiencing a loss of some kind, it can be about kind of working your way through that and being able to better express yourself. And that some cycle is coming to an end here. Good luck, Leo. Definitely some difficult cards today. I'm not surprised with the Saturn conjunction building, guys. I hate to say it. Okay, so we've got Virgo and Virgo rising. This is important for you, Virgo, because you're ruled by Mercury. And it also is connected to your 10th house of career. Now, the Mercury transit is moving through the 7th house. So wherever Mercury goes is where you are. So this is a lot of focus on relationships, partners, other people. So this is going to be about communication with your partner, being a little bit more intuitively connected. If you're seeking relationships, it means that you're out there meeting people and kind of connecting to people who may be kind of artistic, creative, musical, spiritual. And it can also be a time that's great for getting a reading. It can be a time that's great for finding a therapist. You can also be focused on business and sales and kind of creating your marketplace and putting stuff out there for people to buy. But if you're in a relationship, it's great for, kind of connecting with that partner and focusing on communication more. If you're looking to meet somebody, well, you've got Mercury, which is you, coming in conjunction with Saturn. So it can be an indication that, over the next month or so, there can be some really, really, really strong indications of meeting somebody that you get on well with. This full moon that's going to be in your sign, that's in opposition to Mercury and Saturn, might represent this awareness of what you do want in relationships to other people, or having much more of a clear idea of what you need. And likely you're going to find that it's something that's very different than you, Virgo. All of this Pisces is somebody who is a little bit more sensitive and emotional and intuitive, and they don't always seem like they have their act together, but that's probably what you love about them. And maybe you're realizing that energy can really balance you out in a very beautiful way, right? So there can be big things going on also with career stuff because of the connection to your 10th house. So great time for clients and really focusing on, your market space, or having meetings with people relating to your professional life. But yeah, I think Mercury coming to meet with Saturn, that might be a fated encounter for you, Virgo. I have a feeling. Let's take a look. The card that I get is the 8 of Pentacles. So working together, working on things, being a team. So this is about, perfecting, working things within a relationship, mastering your craft, relationship skills, hard work, dedication, high standards, and commitment. So even though this is like a business card, I could see this as being connected to Saturn. That's like, we're working through stuff, or we're working hard on a relationship, or I'm working hard to try to put myself out there. and hard work will yield results. So definitely do the work to be able to kind of connect with other people, and you'll be rewarded. Good luck, Virgo. We have got Libra and Libra rising. What's going on, Libra? You're going to be doing this Mercury transit through the sign of Pisces in your natal 6th house. All right, so Mercury does well in the 6th house. It likes it there. Mercury is connected to your 12th house, which deals more with dreams and subconscious stuff, behind the scenes stuff. And also it has connections to your 9th house of higher belief systems, education, and travel. But for you, Mercury is entering a part of your chart that deals specifically with health, habits, and routine. Pets, coworkers, your mental habits, your screen time. Basically for you, Libra, you might just notice that you're more intuitive about your health and your work routines, and it's a good time to listen to your body and make the necessary adjustments that you need to here. Kind of wonky because Mercury is connected to your 12th house, so it might mean that you're realizing you need to make a change in your bedroom, you need to make a change to your sleep routine, or you're rearranging something maybe in your office space. Approaching health habits in a way where you're also being more aware of your habits, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're doing recreationally. Usually when we see the 12th house lord in the 6th, it can also indicate where we become aware where there is some self-undoing that's going on in our habits. For some Libra risings, I'm hearing that you guys are opting for sobriety. For others, it's realizing that you need to take better care of your immune system, or you're realizing that you're working too much and the emotional stress that that's having on your physical body. Take a look at what happened with the full moon. Likely that was kind of showing you or giving you some insight as to how to better navigate some of this stuff. I think that this is a wonderful opportunity to be building healthier routines, to be honest with you. So let's take a look. Let's see what these cards have to say for you, Libra. The card that I get is the Two of Swords. I think this can be about anxiety and stress, to be honest with you. So finding it difficult to make decisions, weighing too many options, feeling like you are overdoing it, hidden information, and feeling in between 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Mercury can do that, right? Mutable signs can do that too. It's about committing to having healthier habits in general, not feeling like you have to do it all at one time. So it's easing your way into it and intuitively being like, I don't feel like I should eat this, or I want to cut this out of my diet, or I need to work out in this way. And also meditation can be really helpful. And Pisces is a sign that's about not just like spirituality, it's about creativity. So it might be about, creating a little bit of time where you can be doing some creative work or something that gives you a break from like that daily grind. So that way you're feeling like you have, the positive effects of that, like mentally or emotionally, from having some new, creative thing that you can do. Good luck, Libra. We have Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You're doing Mercury's transit through Pisces and a fellow sister water sign. It's moving through your 5th house for you, Scorpio. So Mercury connects to your 8th house, the joint resources and other people's money, and also the 11th house of friends and networks. So you've got like a loaded 5th house here. Planets making trines to your sun, moon, or rising. Great. It does feel more emotional, okay? Now, the 5th house deals with creativity and romance and self-expression, and also like children and hobbies and dating. So creativity and imagination might be heightened at this time, making it a great time for artistic pursuits or romantic gestures. If you have kids, it can be a time where you're more focused on, children, or if you're self-employed, it can be that you're kind of taking care of that business. I think about how this can be creative ways to make money because Mercury is connected to the 8th house. As Mercury, the Sun, and Saturn are all coming into conjunction, it can be making a serious decision about a creative project. Do I launch it? Is it ready? It could be websites. It could be things that you're painting or creating. This can also represent a turning point in regards to your love life. Certainly things have been interesting with Mars and Venus in conjunction in your 4th house of home, where something significant has shifted in regards to your relationship with home, family, or a potential future that you're building with another person. So here it can feel like super romantic. It can be such a great time if you're in a relationship where there's a lot more intimacy and togetherness and having fun. creating together, especially with the sextiles to your 7th house. And if you're single, the 5th house is like, go out, go to, 5th house places, bars, clubs, places where there's like theaters, where, people are viewing things and seeing things, or maybe like art galleries can be nice here, to most likely, kind of connect with new people. But really great energy for creativity and romance for Scorpio risings. Just watch for being too idealistic in love. I see that as I pull the 7 of Swords. So interesting stuff. So, Neptune is there. Eventually these planets are going to meet with Neptune. And so I think it's a lot of like, is this real? Can I trust this? Is there something missing? Like, what's the catch? You might find yourself saying that. If you've recently met someone, what's the catch? Like, what's going on? Is this too easy? I do feel like this is about really being, I'm not going to say cautious, but really getting to know people before you're jumping in very quickly in a relationship. Pretty soon Jupiter and Uranus will be meeting, and a lot of relationship growth is going to happen, and people are going to suddenly elope or, get engaged, or they're going to relocate for people. All kinds of stuff is going to start happening, and that's not a bad thing. But I think it's about getting really clear about what your heart wants right now, and being able to kind of express and kind of share, if you have some concerns about vulnerability, or getting your heart broken, or if you need more commitment in certain relationships, you need to have, serious conversations. Likely it's going to come from this transit. Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You're doing this Mercury in Pisces transit in your natal 4th house of home and family. And Mercury rules relationships and also career and responsibility. So Mercury transiting the 4th house for you, obviously it's going to be squaring your ascendant. So for all the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, you guys are feeling kind of the square of communication changes. Literally Mercury going into the 6th house can be reorganizing your kitchen, reorganizing your home. It can be about, feeling more connected to your family in your home. It can be about going back and visiting home, having partners or siblings coming to stay with you for a period of time. But it also is a good time for introspection and connecting with your roots, learning more about your ancestry, getting to know your relatives, your parents, your grandparents, that kind of stuff. Usually Mercury is siblings, but for you it can also be like partners, and it can be, having some serious conversation with partners about the future of your home or family. So that can be coming up here as well. Likely that full moon that was taking place for you was kind of showing you where there need to be some things that's changing on the work front, making it more possible for you to take better care of your home, your emotions, your family, or just have more time to kind of rest and reflect. So as you go through this transit, I think the positive is that Mercury will start coming into a sextile with Jupiter. So the more that you are reflecting and doing the work on the past, the healthier, more productive, and also happier, right, person you can become. So this can be a feeling of, being also kind of lonely or isolated. That can come up, and there can be literal conversations that you need to have with siblings revolving around home or family care. So you might notice that you're having to talk to a relative about being like, hey, I need help taking care of a parent, or hey, mom's got to move. We got to move her. What are we going to do? So those conversations can be coming up for you as well. The card that I get is the Hierophant, which is interesting because this is about responsibility, tradition, home, what's expected of you. This card comes up that also talks about your religious beliefs, your tradition, knowledge, and also education. So I think it's about like learning more about where you come from in your home and your family. I can also see this being about serious decisions that are being made about the future of your home, your family, and even your relationship. So it can be kind of you taking a much more serious look at, okay, where am I living? What am I building? What are we creating together? Or where do I want to go? The 4th house is really that foundation. And so like getting some wise advice maybe with the Saturn-Mercury conjunction from a relative, a grandparent, will likely be really beneficial in helping you kind of navigate where you're going. Good luck, Sag. We have Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You'll be doing the Mercury transit in Pisces in your natal 3rd house. And Mercury has associations with your 6th house of health and daily routine and your 9th house of higher education and travel. Mercury likes being in the 3rd house, and you're going to see Mercury actually creep up and make a conjunction to Saturn, which rules your chart. So while this deals with like communication and siblings, there can also be a focus on cars, documents, legal documents, signing leases, moving, and traveling, buying like tickets for some kind of traveling event that can come up as well. So for you, I have communication with siblings and neighbors, maybe intuitive, but also prone to misunderstandings. It's a good time to express your creativity through writing or speaking. Watch for gadgets that go missing, okay? Like losing your cell phone or another gadget in your car, leaving stuff at an airport, misplacing gadgets, because Pisces can be what disappears. So be mindful of that here, that can happen, and it can be something that you leave in somebody else's car or like literally like your sibling's house that can kind of come up. But I like this transit for Capricorn risings for developing like a new like divination practice. Like if you want to get into the habit of like pulling a tarot card throughout this transit for the next month, if you're wanting to learn astrology or tarot, or maybe you're working with a pendulum because the 3rd house is something that you hold, that's something that I would recommend. And I feel like journaling can be really helpful for you. Or like if you're feeling kind of stressed, you can go for a drive and that'll kind of clear your head, and you might feel like just like the answers come to you. But journaling and creative writing can be especially important during this transit. Oh boy. 3 of Swords. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe the Mercury conjunction is about having a conversation that doesn't go so well, or receiving some like difficult feedback from a sibling or from like a family member. Having a conversation with somebody that makes you kind of like realize like, oh, you know, I wish they didn't say that. I don't like saying that, but that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting in the 3rd house. The card says heartache, emotional pain, sorrow, trauma, grief, and moving through feeling brokenhearted. Well, you know, it can have to do with the Sun-Saturn coming into conjunction, because it's kind of tying into your 8th house Lord. So there can be some kind of disappointment. But I also feel like this is kind of setting the stage for you to kind of realize like, hey, maybe this was a conversation that needed to happen, you know, or maybe I'm finally getting something off my chest and telling somebody how I feel. The sextiles to your 5th house does make me feel like it can help you heal, especially in a heart-centered space. Good luck, Capricorn. Let me know how that goes. What conversation do you have that's difficult to have? I'm curious. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You're going to be doing the Mercury in Pisces transit in your natal 2nd house, which is all about basically finances, resources, values, what you possess. Mercury has connections to your 8th house of other people's money, debt, and loans, in your 5th house of creativity, self-expression, and children. So with Mercury going through the 2nd house, I feel like you're navigating how you're spending money in a much more intuitive way. I will say be cautious with being too idealistic about financial situations. You know, it's a really good time to review your financial plans. Certainly a full moon in the 8th house can bring your attention to, you know, debts, loans, payments, other, you know, people's resources, your partner's money. And it can be a time of having to pay things out. But I think about how Mercury is going to come into conjunction with Saturn, where you're probably getting more clear about where your money is going. You know, maybe you're setting up a budget. Maybe you are holding yourself accountable for sticking to that budget. Maybe you are, you know, making a commitment to, you know, take X amount of money out of your paychecks and put it into a savings account. You're being more conservative, and you'll really see that when Mercury comes into conjunction with Saturn. I feel like this is going to be you less likely to spring on stuff for entertainment. You may, if you have kids, may be less likely to be like, yeah, I'm just going to give them money for anything. You're maybe being a little bit more conservative with spending on, you know, children or romantic partners because of the conjunction to your 5th house ruler. And when you see the triple conjunction between Mercury, Sun, and Saturn, I do see that as being a time where you may be meeting with like a financial advisor, or maybe you're sitting down with a partner and talking about, you know, future financial planning. But yeah, a lot of this is money. Know that anytime planets come into conjunction with Saturn, it's really important for you because it does represent some kind of serious commitment or boundary. And I think this is about trying to find ways to make your money work for you. So it's not just about the money that you're making, but it's like, okay, now what do I do with it so I can kind of bring more of it in? And some of you guys are thinking about that through property or real estate investments, or, you know, building some kind of like home business or something that may be, yeah, connected to like home or family. But this is more money stuff. So there can be financial proposals, you know, financial things and documents that you have to sign here as well. So watch for that. And yeah, definitely don't see you being as kind of like generous as usual. There's a little bit more of holding on to some stuff. The card that I get is the Five of Wands. Oh my gosh, everybody's just getting beat up all over the place with this reading. Conflicts, disagreements, tension, also feeling like there's some rivalry or challenges or obstacles and a clash of egos. It could literally be that there is like a, you know, like a romantic partner in your life, or there can be a younger partner in your life, or somebody who's like, hey, you know, I need help. Are you going to give something to me? And you're going to be like, no, I'm not just going to give this freely. So there can be a clash of egos on resources. What is yours? What is other people's? How is money being spent? So watch for that. But I really kind of see you holding the keys on this one, like not just giving something up very easily. And also realizing just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Good luck, my Aquariuses. We have Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys will be having Mercury transiting your sign. So it'll be going through your first house. Mercury rules relationships and home and family for you. So likely you are talking about these things, your relationship to your family, where you're living, relationships to partners, what's going on with them. And it's in your first house. So this is the thing that you do first thing in the morning. This is what comes naturally to you, instinctually to you. You may feel like a little bit more of a chatterbox with these transits going on. But personally, I feel like developing a morning routine is really great with this particular transit, especially as Mercury conjuncts Saturn. Meditating in the morning, getting up and writing down your intentions every morning, you know, taking some time to yourself, something that you can do on your own that's helping establish your own routine and patterns. When Mercury moves through the first house, you also can feel in this sign more introspective, more intuitive. You're picking up on things before it happens. You're kind of reading the room a little bit better. And it's a good time to reflect on your goals and your aspirations and really be looking at how you're communicating with other people. That seems to be a big theme. And I would say, especially with like the planets in the 12th house and the sextiles to the 3rd house, you also benefit from practicing some type of like divination. So pull a tarot card or take time to meditate throughout this period of Mercury in Pisces, because I feel like it's going to be an opportunity for you to like learn how to trust your intuition more. The card that I get for you is the Sun card, which is cool because the Sun's in your first house too. Awareness of what you need when it comes to your home and also your relationships. Awareness that you're the person who says where, when, how high, right? Because planets are going to conjunct Saturn. So it's about making some serious decisions, but those decisions are going to come after you start realizing what does and does not work for you. Mercury is all about making changes. So if you're making changes in how you communicate, how you're thinking, you can see sweeping changes with relationships and also home. That's very possible, but you're the one who's going to be initiating it, Pisces. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. I look forward to all of your crazy dream stories down below, because I don't know about you, but it's been absolutely like clown town. So if you're having those weird dreams too, let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. That way you're alerted to when we have new stuff on the channel. I appreciate your guys' comments and your interactions. All of that stuff helps the channel grow. I'll be back here on Tuesday and Thursday, and we do live readings on Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, so you can catch that as well. And yeah, let me know how your guys' week goes. Otherwise, enjoy that Mercury ingress. Enjoy the full moon. I hope it's a good one for you guys, and I'll catch you back here soon. Take care.